Renegade Arts would like to welcome you to this fifth volume in the Spinechillers series. Hi, I'm Doug Bradley, and before we get to the stories, I'd like to say a quick word of introduction about them. Ambrose Bierce's The Death of Halpin Frayser was written in 1893, while he was in the employ of William Randolph Hearst at the San Francisco Examiner, something of a journalistic and literary lion in the city by the bay. For the period in which he was writing, Bierce has a voice almost like no other, startlingly original and with an elaborate and unconventional approach to plot and narrative. In particular, he liked to bend the time frames of his stories, dropping us in somewhere in the middle and folding the beginning and the end around it, leaving the often confused reader to make sense of it all. Halpin Frayser is a perfect example of this, and also of his often brilliant ways of opening his stories that grabs the reader's attention. So here, Frayser, after a day's hiking in the Napa Valley in Northern California, lies down to sleep and wakes from a dream with a name on his lips that he does not know, before encountering his dead mother in a form that implies zombie more than ghost. Not a soul without a body, writes Bierce, but a body without a soul. He then takes us all the way back to the beginning of the tale, in the middle section of the story, with a strange, unsettling, and distinctly Oedipal conversation between Halpin and his living mother, and then moves to the climax of the story, which intrigues and baffles right up to the end and possibly even beyond. It's Bierce's way, and I love him for it. I hope you do too. Is The Fall of the House of Usher Edgar Allan Poe's most famous story? I suspect it is, if it isn't The Masque of the Red Death, allowing that many people who know the story probably know it from Roger Corman's 1960 adaptation starring Vincent Price, or the many adaptations that have followed, or preceded it. I believe the first cinematic adaptation was a French silent film of 1928. On screen, on television, on stage, in music, and in animation, as much as from reading the original story. But there maybe lies the key. You just know the elements of Usher, don't you? It's like Frankenstein. It's almost part of our psyche now. We can access the ideas and the imagery without actually bothering to watch the film or read the book. The hypersensitive Usher, the living dead bride's sister, and the final image of the house itself, splitting in two and sinking down into the black waters of the Tarn. It is, for me, the Everest of short horror fiction. It's not an easy read at all. Poe's language and grammatical structure, especially in the first half of the story, is difficult in the extreme, and the story begins dismally and offers no release or relief throughout. A quick glance at the vocabulary Poe employs in the opening of the story sets the tone. Dull, dark, soundless, dreary, melancholy, insufferable gloom, bleak, vacant. It's as though something is sucking the breath from our lungs, draining the colour from the world, and we haven't reached the end of the first paragraph yet. Fun for all the family it isn't, but a brilliant tour de force it is, and once it's in your head, it won't leave in a hurry. The story also takes almost every element of the Gothic, mixes it with almost every obsessional notion in Poe's universe, and rearranges all these elements into something new and unforgettable. The Fall of the House of Usher was first published in 1839 in Burton's Gentleman's Magazine. Poe was just 30, a young man, yet already entering the final decade of his life. He slightly revised the story for his first collection, Tales of the Grotesque and Arabesque, published the following year. The last two stories in this volume both come from the pen of the same author, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. How It Happened is a very brief story, and simply chronicles the events leading to a car crash, and it's hard to say anything else about it without spoiling it for you if you don't already know the story. So I won't say anything else. I'll restrict myself to telling you that it was published in a collection called Danger and Other Stories, which was published in 1918. By contrast, Lot 249 is a very long story, almost feature film length, certainly the longest we've included in this series so far.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?